Today's video, I'd like to do a COVID market update. What's the latest? What's the greatest? Let's do it.
Set my mind on fire, put my soul at ease. In the midnight hour, it's calling me, makes my blood rush faster.
Here we are almost 2 years later, and we're still talking about COVID-19. But great news though, great news. Known throughout the world, scientific data, it's well known, says that 99.7% of the entire world population, including people over the age of 70, do not die or even go to a hospital if they get COVID. So that's great news. Wow, that is great news. So that puts a smile on my face. I feel confident. I feel confident about leaving my house. 99.7% of the entire world population. So even as the pandemic persists and economic uncertainty rises, the housing market, although normalizing, is remaining remarkably resilient with little evidence of an impending foreclosure crisis, but it is early that those forbearances are ending. We got to keep an eye on that. Home sales have fallen from 15-year highs, and the number of new mortgage applications have been sliding for nearly 4 months. However, the market is just returning to pre-crisis levels where excess demand and too little inventory are at regular rather than extraordinary levels. Many challenges still remain ahead, but now rates remain low and buyers may even be getting slightly more bullish on housing. I'm seeing outside the state of California where we're doing a lot more deals than in California. Buyers are, they're feeling slightly more optimistic about buying right now. So in our, when I looked at all these surveys in California Consumer Housing Sentiments, the percentage of respondents who thought it was a good time to buy increased from an all-time low of 17% in July to a whopping 18% in August. But, it remains depressed relative to pre-crisis levels, but it is a slight improvement and shows how even a small uptick in supply can help to bolster buyers' spirits. This was also reflected in the mortgage application data, which was still down, but by slightly less than in preceding weeks. With interest rates remaining below roughly 2.9%, buyers should continue to be enticed, but the wild card remains the public health numbers that have typically depressed new listings as they rise up. Serious delinquencies drop sharply in California right now for the short term, according to new data released by the Mortgage Bankers Association. Take that for what you will. So the number of mortgages that are 90 or more days delinquent fell to 2.72 in the second quarter from 3.27 in the first. That marks the third consecutive quarterly decline and shows that although the broader economy has been significantly impacted by the crisis, homeowners have largely prioritized their mortgage payments in the face of financial distress. With those 3 million people in forbearance, we'll see how those mortgages are factored back into their loan. There was slightly uptick in 0 to 30-day delinquencies as the forbearance program expired, but all other categories of delinquencies were down, including notices of default. So we also have to look at seasonal pattern. It appears to reassert itself after completely bucking the typical seasonal pattern in 2020. California's housing market has started to resemble a typical year as sales in the state appear to have peaked in June and July before gradually declining in August. We all know what August brings. As a result, August will likely show another modest decline in transaction as the market continues to normalize after hitting 15-year highs in December. So last week, home sales were down relative to the same point in 2020 for the fourth time in the past 5 weeks. Recent uptick in COVID cases, not deaths, cases impedes new supply. The number of new homes being added to the MLS around the state had been showing signs of improvement during the spring and summer, with some genuine increases relative to 2020 levels in recent months. However, as number of new coronavirus cases begins to rise sharply in certain parts of California, the state has begun to fall short of last year again. Last week marked the fourth week in the past 5 that saw the number of new listings shrink. California averaged just about 818 homes added to the MLS each day last week, compared to more than 1,000 per day at the end of August 2020. In addition, more realtors reported having a seller hold back from selling last week. Roughly 2 out of every 5 members who responded. So the final month in forbearance, this is key, the final month in forbearance for the 400K homeowners of the 630K forbearance plan slated for review in September. Black Knight estimated that 400K will have reached the end of their forbearance eligibility unless the term is extended. So August ended with a significant decline in forbearance numbers, with plans declining by 53K over the week ending August 31st. The number of plans has declined 9% since the end of July. Of the 53 million outstanding mortgages, 3.2% of the 1.71 million borrowers remain in forbearance. California Association of Realtors still expects the end of forbearance to have minimal effects on the state of California. So we'll see. Mortgage applications continue losing streak. Last week was the 14th consecutive year-to-year decline in new purchase mortgages applications, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. California Association of Realtors weekly sales totals gradually track with broader mortgage applications with a 5-6 week lag time period, and this suggests that the current market normalization that began in July is likely to persist through the August data and likely into September as well. So, however, new applications are roughly on par with 2019 levels, which suggests that the market is normalizing back to pre-crisis levels rather than cooling or underperforming. So that's good. California pandemic numbers remain elevated in certain areas. The 7-day average for new coronavirus cases, as reported, currently is 12,275, which is down slightly from 14,451 per day last week. However, the situation remains very challenging as the positivity rate for tests remains in excess of 5%, and the hospitalization rate continues to grow in certain sectors. So the number of Californians that have received at least one dose of the vaccine has grown in recent weeks as various events and employers begin to mandate vaccines. But only 56.6% are currently fully vaccinated in the state. So we'll have to see how all this plays out. But as the scientists said, people are focused on the cases. We need to see if the hospitalizations, hospitals get full, what the mortality rate is. Hospitals are not at capacity right now. The mortality rate is very low with this virus. As I said, scientific data, CDC papers came out, 99.7% of people that get the coronavirus do not go to a hospital and do not die. And remember that 300,000 to 600,000 people worldwide die of the flu. More people are dying of the flu and getting cases every day of the flu. So we need to put that in perspective. We don't want people to panic and freak out, but when you look at the broader numbers and really kind of just look between the lines of what the mortality rate is, what the cases are, and, gives you some peace of mind. So we'll have to all see how this plays out with the housing market. I'm not only tracking California because we're working deals outside of California in 3 states right now, and we are working on a 26-unit development in Mexico. So more to come, but that's a quick market update in the state of California with COVID-19. Hopefully we all can prevail, keep pushing ahead and get through this madness. Take care. Be kind to people. Ciao.